You're welcome back. Nigerians are expressing grief and sadness over the latest round of violence and killings in Plateau State, where assailants reportedly killed over 150 people in not less than 20 villages in Bokkos Local Government Area and 32 in 3 villages in Barkin, Ladi Local Government Area. The Plateau State Command of the Nigerian Police Force, however, are saying that the death toll is put at 79. So we have conflicting reports of the death toll. But according to reports, hundreds of people have also, apart from the 150 said to have been killed, about hundreds have been injured, property destroyed, and more than 10,000 persons displaced. Now, the Plateau State Commander of the Nigerian Police Force put out a statement in which they said, that was signed by the Force Public Relations Officer, that's in the state, rather, DSP Alfred Alabo. He said that findings from the ugly incidents in Bokkos and Barkin Ladi local councils revealed that 15 villages were destroyed in the 2 affected local government areas. Also, according to that statement, 221 houses were set ablaze, 27 motorcycles and 8 vehicles were burnt, while 17 deaths were recorded in Barkin Ladi local government area. So police said 79, other reports are saying 150. What is Nigeria's president saying? President Bola Tinubu has condemned the killings. He ordered the nation's security outfit to go after the culprits. Also, the governor of Plateau State, Muftwang, yesterday appealed to those he called non-indigenes of Plateau State who want land in that state to negotiate with the locals rather than resort to violence, possibly giving a hint as to those he suspects as being behind the killings. Now, we have a lot of aspects to this unfortunate incident. It's not the first time we've seen lives being taken in Plateau State. You have Barkin Ladi, we have Bokkos, we have Mangu. There's a local government area, so we normally see these incidents occurring. A report says that every month in 2023, we've had people being killed. Before last weekend's incident, the death count stood at least 300 deaths in Plateau State. Our guest tonight is security expert Adekoya Oyekachi. Joins us right here in the studio. Adekoya, nice to have you on the program tonight, albeit in very sad circumstances. Welcome.
Indeed. Thank you for having me. And first, my condolences to the families of those who have lost loved ones. It's indeed a sad one.
Yes, indeed. Who do you suspect are those behind these killings?
I don't think it's a question of who I suspect, because the more you hear about these killings, you hear the noise that follows it of a launch of an operation, a clearance operation. Police would tell you that some suspects have been arrested. The number of persons brought to book and eventual prosecution is very abysmal, to say the least. So the government, the DSS, the military, you must understand that Plateau has the 3 armored div. Plateau has a very strong DSS presence. In the Plateau, you have Kuru, the Institute of Policy. You have a number of government security presence within the Plateau. Again, you have the Operation Safe Haven. Yeah, so I think that you have a lot of authorities to refer to when it comes to who the suspects are. But in our own classification, in advisory, we call them armed criminal groups or armed organized groups.
Are you trying to be, you security guys, you like to soft pedal on these issues for security reasons? I'm not saying that's what you're doing, but surely going by the history of clashes, maybe we call them farmers' headers clashes, or you call them clashes between locals and Fulani militia. Some have said that. We've heard reports of some Fulani who have come from French-speaking Fulani who speak Fulani that is different from the Nigerian dialect of Fulani. So what do you say? Which of these groups you think may have been responsible for killings in these local governments where we've had killings several times before?
Yeah, so my response to that would be, what does it matter really? If the Constitution says that the primary responsibility of government is the protection of life and property, why do we want to exercise a criminal? A criminal is a criminal, regardless of where he hails from, what he believes in, what he doesn't believe in. So, if you have a system
who are these
that is working,
criminals? That's what I'm asking. Who do you suspect have been behind the trend of killings? And I'm not asking you to tell me to point an accusing finger if you do not have any suspicions. That's fine.
Yeah, so you see, within the elements of statecraft, what you call statecraft, it will be rather too convenient to say that, oh, it's header farmer. It's not just header farmer. It will be too convenient for me to say, okay, there are some destabilizing forces within the state. Of course, there could be. It's too convenient for me to say that within the ambits of geopolitical considerations within the Sahel and the greater outlook towards Africa, perhaps some pressure being exerted on Nigeria by geopolitical interest group that wants to extract from us some socioeconomic toll. That's why our food belts are being destabilized by external forces. Too convenient for me to say that. Well, I could also say that the Fulanis you allude to, who are not Nigerian, may have flowed from the crisis in Libya. Of course, you know that then Muammar Gaddafi intervened in the Mali crisis, housed some of these Tuareg rebels, and since the ousting of Gaddafi, the Sahel has been awash with weapons, and again, that's trickling down into Nigeria. Too convenient to say. I could say that it's Fulani Hausa clashes, too convenient. I could say it's the Fulani and then the indigenes, but too convenient again. Let's look at what we know by fact. In the Plateau this year, at least 5 traditional rulers have been kidnapped from their palaces. In the Plateau this year, at the start of this year in January, the wife of the deputy chief of staff to the governor was kidnapped. A number of political office holders have been kidnapped. And as you said earlier in your report, the Riom, Barkin, Ladi, Mongo, Axis, and Bassa, of course just not, Axis, have witnessed the most amounts of crimes. At the last count of amount of armed conflicts or armed attacks that occurred within the plateau, leading to injuries and loss of lives, we've counted almost 400 incidents year to date. And by our own statistics, we have on record, verifiable, about 399 people killed till date.
This year or
this year till date. Unfortunately, some kidnappings and incidents may also occur today into tomorrow. So it will be too convenient to say that it's one ethnic group. Is that what does it matter? If you had a system in place that would treat crime as crime and get people arrested, and a system works. Clearly, the system we have is not working. We have seen the Chief of Army Staff at the time doing press-up in Plateau, charging his team after an incident. And I've said repeatedly on air that this is what we do. We are too reactionary. We have a structure of security that fails, that is reactive, that is not localized. We've taken the first structure and we've held it up in Abuja, and it's failing all over. Today we are talking about Plateau. Some days ago it was Sokoto. Some days ago it was Kaduna. Some days ago it was Nasarawa, Niger. Where can we begin to look at or look to? Right. So we have a failure of security, and colorizing it by religion or ethnicity just gives the politicians who are responsible for security a convenient excuse for why these things are happening.
Okay. But sometimes you guys in the security sector can, sometimes you do your analysis based, not for now, but you can look at, okay, what's been happening in the past, few weeks, in the past few months, and even since 2001. But we'll come to some more of that as we go on. These attacks began on the 24th, we're told, night of the 24th of December and lasted on till the 25th, that's Christmas Day. That's quite some stretch. Even though the soldiers are telling us that they responded in 45 minutes, some reports that we've seen from locals, they said it took 7 hours for the first soldier to arrive, even though they made some calls and made some reports and all that. Why do you think, is there any explanation to why no security outfit, no security agency, not even the army, were able to stop this carnage while it lasted?
Yes, perfectly. This incident reminds me of the incident that occurred somewhere in Abuja, where some of the Guards Brigade members lost their lives in trying to respond to an incident, expectedly. And again, I can't fault the soldiers who failed to respond. When we hear soldiers and policemen, we forget that these people are not trained to die. They are trained to kill for the country and to keep the country safe. There's an element of their own security that is also important, because if we begin to suffer attrition in personnel, and I'm not saying that the lives of the people don't matter, but if we incapacitate our military and over-domesticate the military, these are the things that will happen.
What do you mean by over-domestication?
Thank you. The military has operation in over 26 states across the country. Is it any surprise to you that we threatened Niger, with military action and they didn't balk? That is Nigeria, the giant of Africa. Because our military have become over-domesticated. They are drawn into internal operations, which should not be. These issues are issues for the police, for specialized units in the police, a counterterrorism unit. Let me break it down. The military, before anything gets to the military, we assume, first of all, that these are Nigerian citizens, but who have taken arms against other citizens, not against the Nigerian state. So you can't call in the military yet. It's a police function. Plateau doesn't have a state police. So you don't have police within the community that is owned by the community. Nigeria has over 774 local governments. At the last count, we have over 1,400 and something police stations across the country that are ill-resourced, ill-equipped, and then population is expanding beyond the capacity of what we currently have. So you may have had, by 1980, one divisional police center covering a certain span of land. The population within that place has expanded, development has expanded. Now you have one DPO having to cover maybe 2, 3, 4 hours of drive time to respond. Response will be lethargic. And so that's why we're saying that response should be localized. The police and the military cannot be everywhere at the same time.
Okay,
they run a risk.
Is this a risk to a national security if you have the soldiers, focused on all these internal security operations?
Oh, you can hear the Chief of Defense Staff when he appeared before the Senate, short of just telling you in clear terms that the current structure we have is overstretched. It's stretched thin. We are in a state of a crisis, and I choose the word crisis, from the north to the south. You have ESN, IPOB, kidnappings in the southeast. You have issues within the Niger Delta. Just yesterday, we saw that the Navy bombed about 6 or 7 illegal refineries. These issues are happening everywhere.
But if you say we're overstretched, the army is overstretched, and this serves as a national security a risk. Tariq Lagbaja, Lieutenant General, Chief of Army Staff, said, in one of the parties he's hosting for the soldiers, I think this one was in the south, he said, about 50,000 troops have been deployed in counter-terrorism and counter-insurgency operations around the country now. If Nigeria has a 230,000 strong army, that leaves 180 who are still in the bark. So,
no, you don't count it like that, because you have different corps within the army.
Okay.
You have the Army Engineering Corps, for example. They are non-combatants, though some elements may support frontline troops. you have the finance corps. You must also remember that if you have a force, you have supply and logistics, or what you call communications, that also support the frontline troops. So that 230,000 cannot be 230,000 combatant. There are non-combatant elements within that force structure. And I don't think that the figures are up to 230,000. In any case, if you, according to the report you are citing, that 50,000 soldiers have been deployed, imagine that deployment within a landmass of 37,000 square kilometers across 774 local governments. If you just do 774 local governments and you put 50,000 into 774 local governments, forgetting that in some parts of this country, you can drive from one end to a state to another end of the state, you are still driving for 7 hours. So what will that deployment ratio be? What will be deployment ratio per kilometer, or deployment ratio per local government? What do you get?
All right.
The question we are saying is that there are no force multipliers to buffer those numbers.
Let's leave it at that. Let's go back to the situation. Like you said, Plateau State is home to the 3 division of the Nigerian Army, led by Abubakar, Mr. Abubakar, forgotten his rank. It's also home to Operation Safe Haven, which he leads. Also, in July, Lieutenant General Tari Lagbaja, Chief of Army Staff of Nigeria, in July, he operated what is called Operation Hakorin Damisa 4. Hakorin Damisa means tiger's teeth. It's a special operation to tackle insecurity in Plateau State. And some of your colleagues in the security sector have said, we need a special operation. They have a special operation already for that state. Is there any logical reason why such an incident should occur, despite the presence of these formations?
This is the point I make every time. To a carpenter, every problem looks like a nail, so you bring a hammer. And when General Lagbaja launched that operation, I said clearly on air that it will just be a matter of time before some other dastardly incident will occur. We don't do some risk assessments in this country. We don't think depth, strategy, and tact in approaching some of these issues. Some of the issues you see, you cannot solve in a kinetic means. It is clear. You have to use other conflict resolution alternatives to resolving some of these crises. Because at the heart of the problem is not a security forces problem. There is a key problem within the political economy, which maps out the totality of the framing of our politics, how we do our politics, whether it be ethnic politics, religious politics, or the ethno-religious sentiments and a centrifugal push. We fail to appreciate the pre-colonial problems and colonial problems that we've had in this post-colonial era. So we are taking a rather simplistic approach to the issues we see, saying that deploy, and again, let me say very quickly, most officers with command like operations. We've been in this country where the Chief of Defense Staff has his own operations, the Chief of Army Staff has operations, the NSA is having operations, the IG is having operations, the DIG is having operations, right. Commissioner of Police are having DPOs, everybody just wants to have operations.
We have to go. Just a quick one, very quick one. We know that Governor Muftwang unveiled a state-owned security outfit. Okay, I'm told we're out of time, actually. We'll leave it at that, but we will continue to keep the conversation open right here on Politics HQ. It's a sad one, I'm sure you would agree, and like you said when we started, our hearts go out to those who have lost their families and their relatives and loved ones in Plateau State. I want to thank you so much for your time and for your expert analysis on this very, very tough issue tonight, sir.
Thank you for having me.
All right. And of course, we're mourning. We're mourning those who died in Plateau State. We're mourning with the people of Ondo State who've lost their governor. And we just say that may their souls rest in peace. My name is Kofi Bartels. Thank you so very kindly for your time tonight. We'll return tomorrow with more on Politics HQ. Good night.